redirect salvation, you know, the receiving of salvation onto the Israelites. But that's not for the heathen. And get me Romans, give me Acts 2 and 5.
Acts 2 verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
Yep, because what, you had a lot of, you know, Jews, Judites, who were in these other nations, but what they obviously knew that, you know, they're Israelites. They knew how to keep, they knew that they had to follow after the law, statutes, commandments. And what, they're scattered throughout these other nations. They still knew. So go ahead.
Verse 6. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together.
Now actually start at verse 4.
Time. Acts 2 verse 4. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak with other tongues, and the Spirit gave them utterance. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language.
Yeah, because again, you had a lot of Israelites who are scattered amongst these other nations. They had knowledge that they're Israelites, but what? They grew up in that land, or, you know, they were in that land for a certain amount of time, so they knew the language and they were able to preach in the other language. You know, so a lot of people, you know, were confounded at that. They're, you know, amazed. Yeah, now give me Romans 10 and 12.
That's when our people were more together back then, you know.
Yeah.
We have feasts together, even if, you know, you have certain differences.
Right.
Not every, it don't say specifically whether they believe in the Lord or not. Right. It just say they came back to the Holy Devil. So someone believes something different. So if they believe, you know, they would have been astonished that they would receive the spiritual power. They don't, it's not specific whether they were believers in the house shot. They said they came to the Holy Devil.
Yeah, so, yeah, again, so you had Israelites who were coming out of these other nations, you know. And basically, they're, yeah, again, you know, they're able to speak, you know, these other languages. So,
Romans 10 verse 12.
Well, have it ready in the blue letter.
Blue letter.
Yeah, oh, the brother already got it.
Romans chapter 10 verse 12. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek, for the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him.
Yeah, so when you read this at face value, you know, a Christian will be like, oh, see, so the Lord said there's no difference between Jew or Greek. You know, see, so the Lord's dealing with everybody. Nah, because when you get it, go ahead and give me that definition for the word Greek.
The Greek word for Greek will be Helen, and the definition would be a Greek either by nationality, whether a native of the mainland or of the Greek island or colony.
Yep, keep going.
All right. Definition 2. In a wider sense, the name embraces all nations, not Jews that made the language.
They can't substantiate this. So the main ones that were Greeks were the Jews. Right? So all nations, including the Jews. Right? That's how it should read. Continue.
Customs and learnings of the Greeks, their own.
Right. You go back to the Hellenistic period. Those are some of the first people that became Greeks. Was the nation of Israel. Right? Then you had mingled people. They were assimilated too, like the Syrians, Syria, Ishmael, Persians and Medes. When Alexander was pushing east, conquering them, they became Hellenized also. Right?
Yeah.
I believe Israel got conquered first before he pushed east. You have to look it up and fact check that. When the Greeks were pushing east, he came south and then continued east toward India. So the Israelites, they were one of the first nations to become Hellenized. And then you had some of the Arabs and the Negro people after that.
That's like Apostle Bar always say. If you don't know history, you're not going to understand the mystery.
Yeah. That's simple. I mean, to make a statement like "not the Jew," that's asinine. That's a complete injection of a lie. That's a purposeful lie to say "not the Jews" when they were one of the first nations, if not the first nation, to become Hellenized.
Yeah, and the Lord has the judgment prepared for those who add on to the word. Who try to make, deceive and try to.
Look at the Maccabees.
Yeah, first Maccabees.
Couldn't become they are that he was a Jew. So that's a direct lie. So read that. You stay where you at. You read that definition again, and you get to the apocryphal scripture.
First definition.
So read the definition again from the top. And we're gonna prove that it's including the Jews, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the southern kingdom.
So this is the definition for Greek, aka Hellen in the Greek. A Greek either by nationality, whether a native of the mainland or of the Greek islands or colonies.
Yeah, because again, when you become Hellenized, you start following after the customs of the heathen. I mean, really, before it was, other Greeks. You start keeping the Greek customs. So that, and then, of course, your children, if you have children, you'll raise them up under the Greek customs.
Right. That don't even make sense to exclude one like that. So you're basically saying the Jews never called themselves Greeks, but every other nation did. That's fucking stupid.
Yep.
That's a direct lie. It even tells you that the Greeks came in for the feast, right? In John or Luke, it tells you that. Feast of dedication in the Gospels. You can't, if you are not of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you cannot partake in circumcised customs. You have to be circumcised to partake in the customs, especially amongst the Pharisees, the Sadducees. So they look down on the Israelites that wasn't circumcised. So if you call yourself a Greek and you come in to Israel to worship, okay, you have to be circumcised. Right?
You want that in John?
Get that princess first.
Yeah, so again, when you become Hellenized, you start keeping the Greek customs. So what basically the Lord was saying, man, was that there's no difference between the Jew or the Greek, because once that Greek man, or that man who was keeping the Greek customs, once he comes back after serving Yakalba Page, then hey, everything's all good, because you got a lot of back then during Paul's time, you got a lot of Jakes who basically trying to not bring in the Israelite foreigners, who are they're obviously profaned by the Greek customs. But once Paul was teaching the word onto those Israelite foreigners, of course he had a lot of them who came back to follow after Yakalba Page. So yeah.
Want that, John?
No, read all the definitions.
Second definition would be, in a wider sense, the name embraces all nations, not Jews, that made the language, customs, and the learning of the Greek their own.
We already proved that by 2 and 5. You read 2 and 5, right? Acts.
Yeah, 2 and
We're gonna
5.
prove it again right here in the Apocrypha, Maccabees.
The primary reference is to a difference of religion and worship.
Exactly. So how is it except Jews then? If he just read that, if the primary was because of religion, worship.
And the term Grecian, what does that literally? All it really means is the Israelites again, who were just keeping the Greek customs. It's not talking about the literal Greek Edomites.
You got so-called African Americans up in Great Britain that claim to be British. I'm saying, do that really mean that they're British?
Yeah,
we're speaking in their terminology.
Right, in their terminology.
Yeah. So just because hey, basically everybody here has American citizenship. Does that mean that we're automatically American, Edomites or whatever? No, we just have American citizenship. Where does our lineage go? What's our actual nationality? Israelites. Citizenship and nationality or ethnicity, they don't mix.
Two different things, yes. Your national origin, citizenship.
And the Greek ways and customs was forced upon our people. That's why when you read the Maccabees had went to war with them to maintain what they believed in. We were persecuted and tortured. Babies threw off rules, women hung. All types of atrocities happened to our people to force us to follow those customs.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it should be common sense. Like, it should be common sense. If you could say that so-called blacks up in Great Britain are Africans, right? Yet they claim to be Britain. They claim to be British, right? That you say that they're African Americans. The same should be said that hey, look, these Israelites in the scriptures are claiming they're saying that they're Greeks. You know what I'm saying? They're saying that they're Greeks.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
A lot of them from West Africa and Caribbean, Britain. Benjamites, Jews, Levites, mixed up here in Britain. I believe that event count.
In John?
No, Maccabees.
41, right?
Yeah, it's first Maccabees 1, and I'm gonna go at verse if you want the one at 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. And
Yep, that goes back, that MWO type spirit. Basically, everybody is one people, and everybody will follow after the same thing that the powers of that land ordain. Yep.
Universal.
Which is, again, the Greek customs, keeping the Greek way of living.
And it says, and everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yeah, many.
Yep. So going back to Yakalba's point, you got a lot of Arab or Ishmaelites or Elamites.
Syrians.
Yeah, Syrians.
All the mango people in the east.
Yeah, you already know, that the heathen, they'll fall. They don't have, the integrity like an Israelite man would, to keep follow after their custom for the most part. You got a lot of Israelites who would, willingly follow after the Greek customs. But yeah, adding to the brother's point. So go ahead.
Yep. I'm also going to bring this out. Antiochus the Fourth, that is, right? Antiochus the Fourth is often seen as the initiator of the decree, and this is in secular history, and that'd be 167 BCE, ordering the full Hellenization of the whole Seleucid Empire, right? Rules, right? The says and consequently, the forceful prohibition of the Jews' religion, right? It should be obviously the law, statutes, commandments, all right. Certain, of course, commandments such as what? Circumcision, all right. Of course, us not, Shabbat, not eating pork and such, right? It says, let me go back. Pardon. It says, in the conversation of the Jerusalem temple, of the Jerusalem temple into the Hellenistic cultic space. Which
So it wasn't just Antiochus, it was all the generals that had control of the lands over there. Seleucus, Ptolemy, right? Those are the main two.
Yep.
And they Hellenized the regions that they had control over. And I believe Ptolemy and Seleucus was fighting back and forth with their control over the land of Israel at certain times. So they both had Hellenistic practices because they assimilated the customs of the Greeks, because they're actually Macedonian Edomites, but they stole the customs of the Greeks, right? Because they're not actually Greeks. They stole their customs their ways, their gods, and then they use what they learned to impose that in the lands they conquered. Right? Assimilated those people of those lands into the Greek fashions, which that's not even their actual, religion and customs. They stole that from the Japhites. You get the other one where it says that they couldn't even call yourself a Jew. That's the one after that. And then we're going to go to the Greeks coming into the worship. I believe the Feast of Dedication. You can't be a heathen and worship the Feast of Dedication, because the Feast of Dedication was to rededicate the temple because of the Greeks to follow them, the Edomite Greeks to follow them. So why would heathen Greeks come to worship something to represent their expulsion from the temple? That don't even make any damn sense. You can't divorce, like the brother said, you can't divorce context just so you can assimilate somebody else's culture. And that's what Esau is known for doing, assimilating, as I just went over, stealing somebody else's culture.
Yeah.
Right?
That's really all what Edomite culture is, just other people's culture. You look at Esau got things, from ancient Egyptian empire, within his, for example, when you look at the dollar bill, you got the pyramid. And he obviously stole that from the ancient Egyptians, Many other things that this devil has taken, to create his own, I guess you could say, philosophy.
Ultimately, that's what a king do. He establish rulership on the land and make everybody follow his way. It's his way or death. You're not going to let nobody practice customs inside of your house that you don't want in it.
Right, same thing with the camp. You preach how we preach. You don't preach the way you want to preach. We have certain customs, a way about doing things, saying things. You assimilate, okay, or acquiesce to the way we teach, or you can go with another group. Right? We don't teach like IUIC teach. Right? We don't teach like the other group teach. We teach a certain way.
Because when Yahweh shall return, he said, all those my enemies that wish that I not reign over them, bring them hither and slay them before me. And that's just how life is. The king has absolute power and rulership over his dominion.
Yeah, or you're going to get your head chopped off. Mangled, like the scriptures say. Mangled. You eat that pork. Good.
The book of 2nd Maccabees, the point is at verse 6. All right. I can start at the top if you want. But it says, I start at the top. 2nd Maccabees 6:1. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not live after the laws of the Most High.
Again, going back to that Hellenization. Go ahead.
It says, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that in Gazarim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwell in the place. The coming in of the mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple.
Yeah, and I just want to make a quick point. When Apostle Paul, was writing these letters, he obviously had the understanding of, the Hellenization that went on. History. When these Christians read about it, they don't have any idea about the Hellenization, during the time of the Maccabees. They don't have no idea.
They
so
don't acknowledge
Paul was born probably like 50 BC or something like that. So somebody look up when did the Roman Empire completely assimilate the Greek Empire? Right? Because it changed hands. So we were in the Greeks' hands, then it changed, the power structure changed from Greeks to the Romans. So we're still found in, and that's how Esau tried to shift responsibility. Esau, you're a fucking devil. You're still responsible because we're still in your hands. Right? If the previous kingdom conquered before. That's what Esau tried to do now. They didn't conquer us, their ancestors conquered, but we still found in your hands. That's in the law, actually, I believe.
Yeah. Scriptures say not to change up, the landmarks. That's what Esau, was doing. Taking the land, put his own name on it, or he might just simply pick the name upon himself and call himself, that name.
Right. They say in law, say something about the thief. If the thief is found, find that scripture what I'm talking about. If you steal and it's found in your hands, you're supposed to got to pay back restitution. All right, go ahead. What scripture you got?
Yeah, that's in the Exodus.
Exodus.
But yeah.
So, which one are you talking about? I'm still working on it.
Got a quick Google search of it.
Find it.
One here. 146 BC, the Greek peninsula became a Roman protectorate. In 146 BC, and the Aegean Islands were added to the territory in 133 BC.
To Rome? To Rome?
Yeah.
Added to Rome?
Yeah.
Aegean.
Athens and other Greek cities revolted in 88 BC, and the peninsula was crushed by the Roman general Sulla.
What year? 88?
133. 88 BC.
He read it.
Yeah, so Paul would have to would know that. And then Paul's teacher would know that because he's older than Paul.
Yeah.
So the history was passed. It wasn't like a mystery. Like, these people today, they're fucking stupid. They know your parents. You have a successful teachers, the historians. They know what happened. They know that they've been paying tribute to the Greeks. Now they're paying tribute to the Greeks. Now they're paying tribute to the Romans. It's a fact. It was a known fact about Hellenization.
Yeah. So, cause what? It was pretty recent, to be honest, the Hellenization.
Right, exactly.
So, Apostle Paul, and as well as the other apostles, like James, they had knowledge about the Hellenization.
Right. They know, like you know somebody in your family that's Hellenized. It's like today. Like it wasn't like we got Muslims in our families, we got Christians in our families. We got atheists in our families. We got guys that just, they don't believe in anything or whatever. The same thing back then. It wasn't just every Israelite was a devout Israelite. They went to the house of worship on all the holy days and all. No, you had certain Israelites. Your cousin may have been a damn Greek. Your other cousin may have been into some Ishmaelite religion, or might have been an agnostic. The elders and apostles say everything's reincarnated.
Yeah.
Customs, belief systems, and all that. Spirit.
Yeah, scriptures say nothing new is under the sun. So everything comes back once more.
Why would Yahweh Shah assign him to be an apostle to the Gentiles if he didn't know the history? He just came